Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker shells, desolate serfs, peasant vassals. I'm a useful idiot, and today I would like to talk about an obscure little clause that showed up in the Republican platform at the Republican National Convention of 2012, and that is GOP platform item number 17, and that is the plank that wants to make the war on drugs and the war on terror a single entity. Now, for those who have been paying attention, we've noticed for many years that the government has wanted to make the war on terror and the war on drugs a single entity. And now we get the state and the political apparatus united in making this an official policy. And I find this disturbing for a number of reasons. But first, let me talk about the fact that on the surface, of course, it seems like a logical connection. We have the drug cartels and the terrorists, Al-Qaeda around the world, being lumped together because, of course, we have a disruption and instability of societies because of terrorism, and we also have the violence and instability of societies because of the war on drugs. And certainly we have all the horrific and heinous violence perpetrated by drug cartels in Mexico as an example of terrorism. So on the surface, it looks like that association would be valid and justified. And of course, we've seen years of the state trying to loop the war on terror and the war on drugs together by suggesting that drug cartels in South America and Mexico were getting involved in arrangements with Hezbollah and Hamas and smuggling terrorists across the border in Mexico. And certainly that is feasible, but we have not seen much evidence of that. And but where this becomes problematic, of course, is the fact that the war on terror and the war on drugs, although on the surface, seem to be somewhat associated. Let's look at the facts that the drug cartels are a profit-motivated operation. And everything they do is motivated by competing with other drug cartels and getting a share of the drug market in the United States. And it is a profit-driven organization. They do not have a political ideology. And the terrorist organizations, for whatever they are not a profit-driven organization. Quite the contrary. They have a political and religious ideology, and therefore they're quite a distance from the drug cartels and their motivations. And let's get to the two major pitfalls of this development, and that is the fact that, one, we have a international dragnet being created that is now going to connect drug cartels and terrorists into a single entity, so that now we're going to have all the negation of constitutional rights and habeas corpus and warrants and charges and due process that have already been canceled out for terrorists, and now those same laws will be applied to drugs. So that is a dangerous step. That is a slippery slope, as they say, because drug cartels and drug dealers and a profit-driven organization should be subject to the normal laws of the United States. But now we're going to shift that into the black hole and the shadowlands of the laws or lack of laws that are used to apply to terrorism. And to take it a step further, and this is the very sinister part of this, is the fact that this move, this item number 17 in the GOP platform, this move to have a state policy of connecting the war on drugs and the war on terror, has a very sinister step, and that is the fact that the military and law enforcement will become more and more integrated in order to fight the war on drugs and the war on terror as they are lumped together. And needless to say, it's a pretty easy step to take it one step further and to include the war on drugs, the war on terror, to become the war on militants, the war on anti-government, the war on constitutionalists, the war on Ron Paul supporters, the war on anyone who criticizes the government, which we're already seeing. So it's not that much more of a step to take the war on drugs and combine it with the war on terror and then take people like Julian Assange and Bradley Manning and lump them in with this international dragnet. And let me repeat, I think it's a very sinister move to justify the further integration of the military and the police. So we see more cooperation between corporate America and the government, and we also see more cooperation and integration between law enforcement, the security apparatus, and the military. And therefore, once again, we're entering an area where it's going to be a slippery slope with the laws that apply to the military and those that apply to law enforcement when we start integrating these efforts. And of course, this will lead to more militarization of the police and more policization of the military, which has already been a bad step forward. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.